Now, greetings, Oseo, peace, light, and love, and welcome to the video today. And what I want to talk to you about today is the importance of reading. The importance of reading to your child and your children, because it's very important that we begin to read. Because one of the things that has gotten us into a victim mentality is that we do not read. We do not investigate the information that comes to us. Okay. We believe in one source, and that's usually uh, a mass media or foreigners. And when we begin to believe things, then what happens is we begin to perceive things in other people's opinion. And we don't rely on the power that is within us. And we can't develop that power with us if we do not read or sit with self. Okay? First, you have to sit with yourself, get to know yourself, start to love yourself. And once you begin to develop a relationship with yourself and love yourself, you will want to search out the truth for yourself. And usually, how do they hide the truth? They put it in a book. So if you're going on off your own experiences, or if you're going uh, to listen to foreigners try to tell you what you can and cannot do, then you're operating on a lack of knowledge because you're not relying on that knowledge within you. And the good book says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Where do you think the knowledge is? It's on the inside of you. Okay? Case in point, when we send our children to school at such an early age, they are not able to get to know themselves because the first 7 years, when they're developing their personalities, we are sending them to a foreign system. And that foreign system influences their what? Their minds. Their what? Perception. Their what? Experiences. Okay? Just like when they send us to school and they want us to learn about what? History or their story as it's told. They tell a lot of the copper colored people that they come from Africa on slave ships and that we were what? Slaves. But if you read the books, you'll realize that that was just a what? A theory that was created around the 1950s. If you read books or you do research on the World Wide Web, you'll know that in 1860, in 1860, we were in the government, that we were a part of the government, but they don't tell you that. You don't hear that in schools. You hear, or our children hears that they were victims, that they were slaves. They even made a movie. They make movies about our people being enslaved. Okay, Roots. It was not a true rendition of what's Alex family. It was plagiarized. Okay, so it's very important that you begin to what? Read. People say, well, I don't like to read, but you got to understand your mind is where the power is. We all have to learn to critically think, and we can't critically think if we do not have information to think critically on. And we get other information from what? Books, other sources. Okay? So it's really important that we begin to read. It's so much important that we read not only for ourselves, but we read to our children so they will develop a love for reading. Because, see, if you don't read, you could be led to the slaughter because you're following someone else. Why do you think we are in the predicament we are in today? Why do we believe that we are victims? Our people are victims. Why do we believe that we are oppressed? We are very powerful beings. But you see, we're told over and over again, and the images that are placed before us are negative images, especially today. In the algorithm, they're fighting, they're fussing, they're shooting, they're acting like what you call ghetto. So when you seeing that in your algorithm, when you go out there in that world, what are you going to see? You're going to see that same type of behavior. A lot of our own people don't like our own. We look down on our own people. Why? Because all of that negativity has been placed before us. That leads to a what? A self-hatred. Why? Because we're not going out and we're not seeking ways to improve our thinking and ways to create our environment in reality. And all the information is in books. Think about this. If you had power and you knew you had power, but you wanted to control another group of people, what would you do? Would you teach that group of people, okay, the information you know, or would you hold that information back? Because if you get that information to the group of people, the masses, if you get that information to them, then they will rise up. Just stop and just think about what I just said. What do our people do? We don't teach our own. We don't teach our own values. Okay? We don't do that. We send them to schools, but the schools don't teach them values anymore. It's just a big babysitter camp. They're not teaching them anything. They're not teaching them how to have good character. When we were growing up, they taught us good character. They taught us order. Okay. While our parents went to school, went to work. We went to school and we were taught order, values, morals. These days, no, they're not taught that. They barely can come, they could come out, they barely can read. They barely can add. A lot of children today, young people, they do what? They drop out. I'll never forget when my son was 2 or 3 years old, they told us we couldn't teach them how to write their names. We couldn't get them to do dittos. They had to go from center to center and what? Play. They need to learn how to be social. No, they need to learn how to read, write, and arithmetic. Okay? I was called into the office because we were sitting the children down. We had a little station sitting them down to trace how to write their letters. Couldn't do that. And those children that I was teaching back in those days are the young adults of today. I'll never forget, those children were off the chain, running around, very disruptive. Why? Because they weren't trained to sit down, to be still. They weren't trained to sit down, be still, and read a book. A lot of people, we think that Lincoln is a man that is pale faced. Lincoln was a man of color, people. Read it in the book. If you read one of his biographies, he was a man of color. But if you don't read a book, you won't know that. Reading is fun to the mental. Pick up a book. If you're not used to reading, hey, begin to read. Because if you don't read, you can't get comprehension or any type of understanding, you can be manipulated. We got into their system because we followed their leaders. We didn't read the information that we needed to. We didn't listen to our what? Self. But hey, don't listen to me. Go to yourself. Before you lay down tonight, ask yourself and listen to yourself and see if what I'm saying makes any sense. Readers are leaders. And with that being said, I want to say to you, peace be unto you. Love yourself so much that there is an overflow of love for others. Because if you don't love yourself first, who's going to love you? If you don't love people, then your perception of those people will be negative and you will comment negatively and then you will create more negativity. See, if you know that, you get that information on how to do that if you read a book on how the subconscious mind and the conscious mind works. Water